Hi, everybody. Welcome to Faraway Volcanic Hispanics. Welcome back. It's been a minute, and thank you for coming back and taking part of this with this podcast. First and foremost, it is International Women's Month. Do you have any words, Mimi?
Congratulations to all those women out there. We are very proud of you.
Yeah? Some of you.
I think most.
Most. So what have you noticed on TV? Because this was a discussion that, I'll be honest, I was hesitant to continue this podcast. I'll be very honest. With so many people on social media giving their personal opinion, sometimes I even question what our role is in all of this. And that's why we're already at the end of March and we hadn't put anything out. And my mom decided to gently nudge me to do this podcast. And naturally, it had to be about women. The whole podcast is about women. So, I was thinking what could possibly be the topic. You had voiced to me what you had noticed on TV. What had you noticed on TV?
I noticed that a lot of women are getting laid off. They're unemployed. And that is very important to recognize as women because women are needed in the workforce.
So the recent layoff, you mean like the government layoffs?
The government layoffs also from military. We have a lot of single women out there with children that do need to be employed, and it's a necessity. So it's important to bring this topic up, which really is somewhat related to what we're going to discuss today. But it's very important for women to be recognized in this month, and I haven't seen a lot of that lately. So
I mean, what I can say about that, it's totally unrelated to the recent layoffs and things of that nature. But I've noticed that being a woman has been with so much work that has been put into the suffragist movement, our voting rights, our women rights. It's constantly evolving. And I've noticed that we've taken the back seat. Sports has been a big deal. How men have wanted to insert themselves and make themselves equal to us when we know biologically, this is a biological, when we talk about trust the science, this is a biological fact. Men are physically stronger than women, and so inserting men into these sports and having them perform at the same level and equal to us women is just unfair. It's taking us off of that pedestal of what we should be proud of, being a woman, being who we are, and competing with fellow women, biological women. But anyways, a lot of people don't agree with me, and frankly, I could give a damn. So the topic that we're going to, and you're going to say, wow, well, that was random. The topic that I decided to pick, something very near and dear to me. Those who know me know that this is very near and dear to my heart. The Native American movement, everything that goes on within the Native American population within this country. So the U.S., the continental U.S. and Alaska. And I can't forget our Canadian brothers and sisters. So particularly the topic that I want to talk about is everyone that knows about Native American culture, the missing and murdered Indigenous women, everything that's been going on. Our latest one that really hit, not the latest, I can't say the latest, but one of the biggest cases was Emily Pike, 14-year-old, who went missing on January 27th of this year. They just recently found her body. God rest her soul. They found her body 100 miles from the group home that she was living in. New reports, I was just reading this morning, new reports, this happened in Arizona. New reports, this was Emily, and I'm going to show a bigger picture. Just like I did in the last podcast, I'm going to take a different approach to these podcasts and putting the photo so you guys can actually see it, because I know you guys can't see it here. This took place in Arizona. She supposedly went to see a boy, and someone that she had met in guitar class. And they just recently found her body dismembered.
How old was she?
14.
A very young girl.
They found her body dismembered and placed in bags. And so this is not just one case. This has been going on for a very long time. And this goes hand in hand with what I just learned reading The Guardian. Now, again, if you know me, I don't really pay a lot of attention, if not attention. I don't give a lot of importance to media, because I know that mass media is very biased depending on what side you're on, whether you're on the right or the left. To me, it doesn't matter. I just read and I then research. So you may ask, I'm going to step back a bit. You may ask, why is this such a big deal to you? We are Cuban. And as you know, even though I'm focusing on Native American, the continental U.S. and Alaska, and Canada, with Annie Mae Pictou Aquash, who was, she didn't want to be related to Canada. She was from the Nova Scotia area. She was Micmac. She was part of the Micmac tribe. She would say she wasn't Canadian. But all of North America, we are Caribbean, and we have native indigenous tribes within our islands as well. And so we are descendant of Taino and Guanahatabey tribes. And so there's a lot of commonalities between all native people. And so I feel inclined to speak on this issue. It is a big issue. It is a ginormous issue. So let me get into it. This article written by The Guardian, I don't have a date. I do. March 20th. So just recently, because today is March 26th. So 6 days ago, this article was written. And essentially, it says the Not Invisible Act Commission's resource was historic for Native Americans has now been scrubbed from federal websites. So what does this all mean? What is this? Okay. So I did my notes. I wrote my notes. So initially in October of 2020, the Savannah Act and the Not Invisible Act. So these were two acts that were aimed and focused on Native people. Okay, they were signed by President Donald Trump. Both bills were signed into law to help address the crisis of the missing, murdered Indigenous women situation in the U.S. Savannah's Act, it was created in memory of Savannah LaFontaine Gray Wind. She was a pregnant member of the Spirit Lake tribe who was murdered. And so these two acts were not only to bring awareness, but also to clarify the roles of federal, state, local, and tribal law enforcement, who's responsible for what. to collect information more accurately, increase communication, and collecting data, which is so, so important. Collecting data, just like vital statistics. What is vital statistics? Vital statistics is when your state collects the numbers, okay, of whoever has died, the numbers on and the stats on what caused their demise, what caused their death, right? So I do a lot of drowning prevention and water safety advocacy because I lost my dad to a drowning event, and so I submerged myself in legislature trying to make this world a better place. Failed miserably, I just have to admit, but within this,
I don't think so.
well, you know,
You made a lot of people aware
well,
of what's going on as far as drowning.
but legislature wise, I failed miserably. I mean, we got it done in Illinois where my dad passed, but I'm not going to get into that. That's totally unrelated. But going back into vital statistics, I noticed a lot of hiccups with vital statistics. The numbers were skewed with drowning prevention. So I could only imagine within the situation, the numbers are totally skewed. And when I try and find, based on not form of death, but people wise, it becomes increasingly difficult to find a solid number as to how many women have died, when they died, how they died, what year they died, what tribe they were from. It's inherently difficult. But anyways, so these bills were created, and they state that in February, they started removing these reports, the Not Invisible Act Commission's final report. They started removing it back in February. There's no concrete response from this administration as to why they decided to scrub this from the website. There's no answer. As a nurse, without seeking this information fell into my lap, and this is protocol. This is protocol within all tribes. We know that every time there's a rape, right? We know that rape is a violent act against someone. And I'm focusing not on everybody. I'm focusing on women now. But this is inherently true for anybody, male and female. If you were raped, this person automatically, the tribe must call the FBI. The FBI comes out and accompanies this person should they want to do a rape kit to the hospital, and they are there, present in the room as this is occurring, right? Now, many people don't report a rape. This is inherently true for everybody, not only natives.
Are they embarrassed? Is that the reason why?
Well, I don't know. Or fear that if they press charges, this person's going to come back and kill them, maybe, And again, this is not only specific to natives. This is everybody. What I've noticed, though, and what is true, the FBI is the principal investigative arm of the United States Department of Justice. Now, you guys heard me mentioning Anime Pictou Akwash. She was one of the AIM members, founders, if you will. She really moved and shook the ground that she stepped on. A lot of people feel a certain way about her, positive or negative. That's up to you. That's your opinion. I personally have a positive view of her. A lot of people say, well, how can you have a positive view of a person who had, they called her militia. They called her, that she had bombs within her tent in the middle of the desert. History will show the woman never set a bomb off. May it be very clear, she never hurt anybody with a bomb. She never shot at anybody. This woman simply wanted American Indian rights to be adhered to and preserved. Now, when she was murdered, because she was murdered, the ME, the medical examiner, found that she died of exposure. Okay, this happened on Lakota territory. They found her body in the middle of nowhere, in the middle of the desert, right? Now, this pathologist, FBI pathologist, missed, and you can find this as well, and I just want to plug them in. Hulu created this documentary on anime. I think it's worth you guys watching 100%. I got a lot of my information from this documentary. Her daughter plays a major role in explaining what happened, the information they received within the years. I mean, this happened in the 70s.
Is there a movie on it?
It's a documentary. Oh. It's a 4-part documentary. I suggest everyone to watch this. Beautifully done. A lot of the information they obtained was from the National Archives in Washington, D.C. And so please take a look at that. But going back to Annie Mae, the FBI pathologist totally missed a bullet that was lodged in the back of her head.
That's amazing.
So initial report was she died of exposure
to the elements, to the weather,
to the cold. You know that the desert is very cold at night. A woman that was native, you would know that at night you're not going to be walking around at night.
Well, she knows her terrain.
Well, it wasn't her terrain. I mean, it was even worse terrain where she came from, because she came from Nova Scotia. And this happened in Arizona. But you totally miss a bullet, a hole in the back of a skull? Again, you say, where are you going with this? This was the FBI pathologist. And so even though I firmly believe that we've advanced in openness in all of this, I still say that you're entrusting your information, your stats, to the Department of Justice, and their arm, their investigative arm, is the FBI. So when statements like this that are written in The Guardian, it says, what this was Charlotte Gonzalez. She is of Diné and San Ildefonso Pueblo, Indian, native. She says, where is it? What does this mean for the future of other information that supports our work? And then there's another statement here that states, even though even though there were great strides in the last couple years, them removing that was like a slap in the face. It was such a huge step back. And this was a quote from Newkirk, Carissa Newkirk, of the Oklahoma-based Murdered and Missing Indigenous Women organization. Gonzalez says, we're taking it upon ourselves to collect as much information as we can, as it slowly comes unavailable to us on purpose. I think the censorship is a hard hit to our communities. We have already limited resources as not only as a Native organization and survivor-led organization, but also as tribal people who live in these pueblos and work with our people. Okay.
Well, I think that's a step in the right direction. If you actually start acquiring the data yourself as Native Indians, You should get all your information and you should archive it yourself. I don't think that they should actually count on the USA government at all. I think that they should archive their information and have databases for these vitals that are very important.
I'm trying to find this quote. Because this quote is in here somewhere where they essentially say that they need to start thinking about getting a website together for themselves and placing this information on this website.
They should have done that years ago.
What was the holdup? This is where I was going when I mentioned Annie Mae. I mentioned the bullet lodged in her head. I mentioned the ME saying that it was that she died of the element when in actuality she got shot in the head by a fellow native. This was thrusted into the media with Peltier's release, which really wasn't a release. He's on house arrest. But there's a lot of things
that are not clear.
They're not clear. Okay, and my frustration with the native population is this. You've had your land stolen. Your people have been biological warfare has been used on them. What does that mean? Smallpox, as basic as that. The smallpox, using blankets infested with smallpox and gifting it to people to watch an entire people go up in smoke and die of smallpox. The eradication of the buffalo so that people starve. The chemical and surgical and sterilization of women so that they do not have children, so that your numbers dwindle. The list goes on. And anyone can see this as, wow, you really hate the U.S. government. That's not it. The fact of the matter is this. It's a fact. It is recorded. In this documentary, they even show FBI documentation saying that you have to break down the tribe from the inside out, cause division.
Is the reason to acquire their land?
100%. And we see this in shows like Dark Winds, right? That is actually being produced by what's his name? Robert Redford. Okay. What else? Thunderheart. Thunderheart is loosely based on what happened within Wounded Knee. So loosely based because, it's Hollywood and, but the fact that the FBI uses people of indigenous background to then infiltrate the tribe to gain acceptance, to then cause some sort of division, right? We see this in Dark Winds. Chi is a FBI. He works for the FBI. Thunderheart, this detective that's played by Val Kilmer, same. He's of Sioux descendant. And he goes in because no one else they're not going to trust the white man, right? So then my question to the indigenous people is, why do you trust the white man with your information? Now, I'm not saying don't go into the website here. I pulled it up, the Department of Justice website, where you click on, it's under Tribal and State Task Force Data and Reports. And then you go down to State Data and Reports. You click on your state, right? And then you go into that link, the state, the Missing Endangered Persons Information Clearinghouse, right? So you can go there. I'm not saying don't cast that fishing net. You have someone that's missing, go ahead and use every possible resource that you can. Scream from the highest mountain. I'm not saying don't use your resources, but what I'm trying to say is this. Why is it that you're only using US documentation? Now, I want you to focus in on clearinghouse, right? Clearinghouse. I have a website here, and I apologize because I'm not very organized today. I don't know what happened to me. This right here, and I'm gonna show it in more detail. But these are all the faces of the people who have either, here it says homicide victim, missing person, and this is not only women, this is men as well. But they're all tribal members, right, from all over. That people have reported them. But I found here, there's so much information.
What are the numbers? Do you have numbers?
One second. That's what I'm trying to find here. Okay, so this is on the U.S. Department of Interior Indian Affairs. You had it. Okay. According to the National Crime Information Center, in 2016, there were 5,712 reports of missing American Indian and Alaska Native women and girls through the U.S. Department of Justice Federal Missing Persons Database. But the National Information Clearinghouse, the clearinghouse that I had just shown you, okay, and Resource Center for Missing, Unidentified, and Unclaimed Person cases across the United States, called the National Missing Unidentified Person System, only logged 116 of those cases. Let me read that number again. So from 5,712 reports,
almost 6,000 people. Yeah.
Only 116 were logged under the clearinghouse. What's happening here? Now I said, no, this cannot be. There has to be natives that have taken this upon themselves, seeing the amount of women that have been found in dumps, garbage dumps. I mean, the families have gone to even the federal level and said, I suspect that my family member is in this dump. And no one has assisted them. Volunteers have had to go into these dumps, find these people, send them to be identified. We just had one. I forget her name. We just had one like a week ago. And it was volunteers that found her body. They found 2 bodies at the dump site. They identified her, and they still haven't identified another body. Okay? So I said, there has to be a group, right? Well, the Alaska Native-led non-for-profit Data for Indigenous Justice supposedly continues to collect information. Now, again, this is not me knocking anybody down. And I'm going to put up their website for you guys to look for yourselves. It's www.dataforindigenousjustice.org. My honest opinion, I'm looking at the government, right? And the government puts faces, tells us their name, tells us what tribe they're from. I don't see this with this website. They say that they're collecting information, but I think awareness is everything, just like those posters in Walmart where you see missing child, and you can look over the faces, or when you go to a rest stop, you're doing a road trip, you go to a rest stop and you see faces and you see names and you see, I always stop to look because you never know.
You never know.
Mm-hmm. But I didn't see that with this website. And what I'm really focusing on is my frustration that I know women are leading these groups. I know for a fact that this non-for-profit is led by women, but I'm not seeing I'm not seeing what I see in this. And what and really, why would you focus all your information, data collecting, your reports and everything on a government website? Why?
I said that before. If I were an Indian and I had my land,
My tribe.
my tribe, my people, I would have my database. I would not count on anyone else except myself and my people to keep this information. Very important. Very important for the past and very important for the present and very important for the future. These are numbers that are needed.
I'm still trying to find that quote because this to me was, they say this is a slap in the face, but I mean, what can you expect from a government? What can you expect from a government, any government, whether it's a Trump administration or a Biden administration, to really give a damn about you? Okay? Why?
Well, you have to take responsibility for yourself and for the people that you love. That's the essence of it. They're not going to do the work for you. You have to do it.
You know, it says, when doing this education, we're better able to equip them with the ability to advocate for themselves, and that work is really important as we move forward, especially with these unprecedented times of this current presidential administration. I'm not going to defend Trump at all. I'm not. But I'll just be honest. He signed it initially in 2020. So you guys want to shit on one administration, which I didn't vote for. I didn't vote for anybody this time around, okay? But you want to shit on an administration that, I mean, the first time around signed it in. No one else signed it in. And as he signed it in, I mean, the act is not null and void. It's not that it doesn't exist anymore. The act still exists, but the report was scrubbed from the website, okay? Some sort of accountability has to be taking place here. And it falls onto the hands that it matters, for the people that it matters most.
Exactly.
The tribal administrations, the people running the tribes. Okay? And I know there's a lot of division. There's a lot of division. Boy, is there division. Okay? Going back to Wounded Knee, we know.
Well, there should be more unity.
I can't understand within a tribe why there wouldn't be.
There should be.
There should be
more unity as far as the Native Americans. I mean, in this, the strength is in the unification of all tribes.
I mean, I could understand why one tribe wouldn't get along with the other, but within one tribe, and that's another question that I have. So we have an astronomical number, right? We have astronomical numbers here. I'm going to read them. Okay, according to the U.S. Department of Interior, Indian Affairs, and CDC, non-Hispanic American Indians and Alaska Native females experienced the second highest rate in homicide in 2020. More than 2 in 5 non-Hispanic women were raped in their lifetime. So that was 43.7%. That was.
Those are amazing numbers.
Those were numbers in 2020. Now, if we think back, 2020, COVID, we were all under quarantine. We were all, and the numbers were astronomical for everybody. The domestic violence was off the charts. But, and also this, according to the National Institute of Justice Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, less than half of violent acts against women were reported to police. Okay?
But was it the outside police or their tribe?
Well, state police is not allowed within the confines of a tribe. Okay? That's why I say when there's a rape, FBI has to be called. So tribal police is involved and the FBI is involved. But state police, like let's say Miami-Dade, cannot go in there. Cannot report, cannot go. They have a totally different dispatch, totally different officer, totally different everything. Okay? And that was established. But my question to the natives, and as always, I have the email at the end of my podcast, is, who's doing this?
Very important question.
Because that's another thing. Who is doing this? Is it a fellow tribal member? Is it an outsider? Is it someone passing through? What is happening? Who is doing this?
These are lives, and they're important. They're important to their family. They're important to the community. They're important. So something has to happen, and it has to be positive too. Everything cannot be negative. It has to be positive.
I think that in a way, there's some sort of shame if there were a situation on the res where a tribal member is doing this, there's a certain shame that they don't want to tell. They don't want to say, yeah, it was one of our own, because then, other people are going to use that information and say, well, that's your problem.
Well, they must take care of it themselves then.
Right. I agree. But the fact is, this is an issue. Could this be a cultural issue? Okay. We are Hispanics, right? We're Hispanic women, and we cannot speak for all the men. And we know that victims of homicide have also hit men substantially. When I look at this thing, I mean, for every 2 women, there's like 2 men here. So is it, I mean, we know that the numbers for women is much higher than men, but there's men here too. What's going on?
Women and girls.
Is it a cultural, but looking at women, is this a cultural issue? Because we're Hispanics. We know that our Cuban. We know our men are hot-headed, right? We're hot-headed people. We're very passionate people, right? Could this be an issue there? I mean, I'm not going to even look at them. I'm going to look at my Cuban people. In nursing, here in Miami, I know of 3 nurses that have either been shot to death or stabbed to death.
Well, there's reasons why.
Right.
But we know actually who did this.
It was our own men. It was the husband, it was the partner, it was the male partner it was their, I think in every single case it was the husband. And it was a Cuban man. And I'm not ashamed to say that's what happened. And if you look it up, it is what it is.
But you're talking about incredible numbers. You're talking about thousands of women.
Yes.
And girls.
Yes.
Girls.
Yes.
Also. And we don't have age range here.
No. The age range that they have said is really the numbers are in the younger female population. So from 15 to 19, and then from 19 to 24, something like that. Okay, but we're seeing, women in their 30s, 40s also. But I have to also say this. I don't know if this is organized by date, because I don't have a date here for each person when they went missing. I just have whether, if the case is open or closed. But
or their age.
I don't have their age. You see, this is what I'm talking about. Like, there's so much missing information that could help people. I don't know if this is organized. I don't know if it's organized by date or what happened, because it says here any missing person or homicide victim. It doesn't specify the date, but something so simple as Emily Pike. Emily Pike is not here. I don't see Emily Pike's face anywhere around here. And this just happened this year. So
it's very sad.
It's extremely disheartening. I think it's worth talking about. I think this should light a fire up on Native people's behind and take matters in their own hands in the sense of reporting and recording, How simple is it to start a website within each tribe and say, okay, this person's missing. You put up their picture. You put up the details of what you may or may not know. Okay, the family, she was wearing this. Her hair was like this.
The time that she went missing.
When was she noted to be missing? Where did she leave? Did you notice a window open? Was it closed? Was there forced entry? Was there not? Things that could help the situation. Okay, figure out what happened here, because you can't have it both.
These are lives that matter, and they're important.
You can't have it both ways. You cannot have it both ways, where you say, well, the white man is taking away my reports and my this and my that, right? And yet now is when you've decided, well, maybe we should start our own database. Well,
this should have been done years ago. I mean,
when you notice inconsistencies as that murder, okay?
So yeah, something has to change, and I think it has to the change has to come within the tribe. Very important.
They say here that human trafficking is also an issue. Human trafficking definitely is an issue. I can say that for a fact, especially here in Miami. But I mean, within tribal matters, it's an issue.
Parameters have to be put in place. And certain.
Use all your resources. Again, use every single one of your resources. Go to your local news station. I know it's hard. I advocate for something totally different, but in memory of someone that I loved, and it was hard. It was hard to say the story yet again and express what I was feeling yet again, and look at their pictures and saying their name. And I know it's difficult, but at the end of the day, these are women that need our help. They need our advocacy. They need someone to speak for them. We are women. We need to do something about it. We cannot rely on other people to do our job for us.
And technology has to be used now that we have it, in order to find out what happened. Cameras have to be installed so that there is some type of tip that you could go off and find out what really happened to these women. Did they leave, and with whom did they leave, and find out time and place and what they were wearing, and all this kind of information that's very necessary in order to find the truth. Very important.
In this month, again, people like to rehash the historical accomplishments of women, which is a very positive, very happy topic. We chose to not pick that topic. We chose the path less traveled within. I mean, we're not part of a tribe.
We are not.
We are within regular society. For natural reasons. If we would have been in Cuba, if we were born in Cuba, if the Spaniards wouldn't have completely decimated the numbers, if we wouldn't be mixed, because we are mixed people. Okay, Caribbeans are mixed people. It's just our fact, right? We are Native, and we are Spaniard, and we are African, and we are, on my dad's side, Asian. And we are so many things, right?
And European.
Well, Spaniard, Italian.
Italian, Spaniards, French.
Portuguese. Even some Arabic in some cases, right? We have a mixture. Unfortunately, the numbers are completely dwindled in all Caribbean islands, and our existence as natives has
And it's really a shame because we could learn a lot from our Indian culture, our ancestors. They knew a lot about the environment. They knew how to read the environment. They knew when to plant what tree, what plant, when it flowered, when we would get fruits. And it was incredible, the knowledge that they had, the natural knowledge that they had. So when I say that women in these tribes are important, they are important. They're very important. And you told me a story about one of the Native Americans that she had no control over bearing children, that her ability
right.
was taken away.
She had given birth, and like her, so many. She had a C-section, as many women do. I mean, I think women now have more C-section than vaginal birth. Astronomical. I mean, the difference is astronomical. But anyways, she had a C-section, and upon having a C-section, the doctor took the liberty of removing her uterus and her ovaries. And this was not a elected hysterectomy. Okay, for those who do not know, hysterectomy is the removal of female reproductive organs. People have this voluntarily at the end of their, or if they've been diagnosed with a cancer or something like that, and they remove it. But this woman did not have any of this, and her ability to have children was revoked. It was removed without her knowledge, until later that she found out via imaging that she had a hysterectomy. And that's it. You cannot return. You cannot rewind. She was done with having children.
That's not acceptable at all. If they want to continue having children, they should be able to have the children and the number of children that they want.
Right.
This is not acceptable anywhere.
And we saw this, we also see this, and this didn't only happen with Native Americans. This happened within the Black community and also within the Puerto Rican community in New York. I mean, we could dedicate an entire segment on that, on Margaret Sanger, the mother and founder of Planned Parenthood, and how she viewed having children, that these groups having children was a sin. That was her belief. And she really was the mother of abortion. And it was a Hitler type selection. She wanted to get rid of Puerto Ricans.
That to me,
and blacks.
That to me is population control.
It is population control.
On certain classes of people and certain ethnics.
It's thinning the herd for those who you want, and really there's no difference between Margaret Sanger and Hitler. I don't see a difference. You don't like a certain population and you choose to get rid of them. Okay? You choose to get rid of them because they are not the color, the creed, the whatever that you like. That is genetic selection. And who are you?
Who are you?
And my thing is this. Sue me. I could give a shit. I think when you go to a pound, right? Not that humans are dogs, but when you go to a pound and you look at all the dogs or the cats, right? And you see, usually with dogs, you notice this more because with cats, you can't tell who's a mutt, who's not a mutt. But with a dog, you can tell who's a mutt, right? You can tell. It's not a pure breed. Usually that animal is the strongest and will last the longest.
Well, maybe that's the reason why they wanna do population control.
And in my personal opinion, I think that mixed people are more beautiful than pure breed people. I might be biased because I am a mixed person of many different people, but I think that they're stronger.
But let's face it.
Genetically, they're stronger.
They are not God.
No, they're not.
Okay, so you're thinning on fine ice when you think that you are able to control population that way?
Walking on thin ice.
Yeah, walking. What did I say?
Thinning on fine ice.
Well,
What we know, walking on thin ice. Yeah.
that's not right.
No. But leave it to us to bring some joy in your life. But no, in all seriousness, this had to be talked about. I'm hoping that this, again, like I said before, lights a fire in the hearts and minds of all Native people, that they start making a conscious decision to start recording what is going on and having a heart-to-heart within their respective tribes and saying, okay, what's going on? What is the problem? Is there a drug problem? Is there an alcohol problem?
If they don't care, no one cares.
Right.
So it has to start with someone.
Put your house in order.
Yeah.
Put your house in order. And again, in no way is this a shaming. In no way is this you should do that. No, what it is it's a disappointing fact that I go and try and do some research and find the stats. Okay, how many women have died here? How many women have died there? How many? And maybe I'm looking wrong, but damn, was it hard to find anything at all? You know, why is it this hard? If I go into vital statistics, I could find this. Why has this become so inherently difficult? And it puts the question in my mind, is this inaccessible information on purpose so that we don't really know the numbers? Because if we start counting the numbers, it's much more high. It's higher than what we could even imagine.
Yeah,
is there a division going on from the inside out? I want to read this that I also took from the again, I don't know if this is an outsider, if this is someone from inside that's killing the women, okay, but this is an issue that's nationwide, okay, so we really have to start looking. But going back to this issue on Lakota Sioux territory back in the 70s, Dick Wilson, who was tribal, he was Lakota tribal chairman. He signed away 1/8 of Lakota land in 1975 to Washington, D.C., right? He was like this with the FBI. And the FBI denies giving guns to his goon squad, right? The guys that he used to terrorize the rest of the tribe into doing what he wanted them to do. But the FBI gave grant money to every tribe if the tribe had prairie eradication programs. Rifles would be purchased. And so I can't, and I'm going to put up that documentation that I found. It was FBI documentation where they said divide them from the inside out. That was one of the tactics. But it reminds me of the cartel, right? It reminds me of what's going on the southern border with the drugs coming into this country, the fentanyl coming into this country. And when they kill our border patrol officers and they get the guns that have been abandoned from these cartel members and they find out, oh, they're made in the U.S., and many of these gun companies, one in specific, has currently caught a case, okay, and is being investigated as to why these guns, U.S.-made guns, are in the hands of Mexico cartel members that are killing our border patrol. It puts a major question mark. What is the intention here, right? What is the intention?
The only thing I could say, it's population control.
Well,
that's what I think.
Fentanyl has done a hell of a good job, I have to tell you. And the people who sell Narcan have made a lot of money as well. Those are the pharmaceutical companies. So it's a circle. It's a circle. The hospitals make a lot of money taking care of these people. Okay, of course, a lot of these drug addicts don't have insurance, so they have to write it off as a tax deduction, right? but they're going to make their money one way or another. So this is a revolving door of money.
It's a circle.
Coming in.
It never ends.
We have to start looking at the fact that drugs and alcohol is a major issue in all of America. Okay? And I know that the topic was Native. No, this is all around.
Well, those are the songs. I mean, when you listen to the songs, it's mostly alcohol that they sing to. I've never. Let's start changing that too. Why don't we sing about love? Why don't we sing about mother, father, children? Why don't we sing about the sun and the trees instead of all this alcohol and whiskey and rum and you name it? That's what they sing to.
Everything.
It's ridiculous. It's actually ridiculous. I've never seen anything like it in my life. In our culture, we don't do that.
Well, I mean,
we don't sing to rum and we don't sing to whiskey.
Well, wait a minute, because I have to correct you on this.
Has that changed also?
Yes, that has changed, because you don't listen to all these assholes that have been given Grammys and really don't deserve it. But our music has gone down the tubes. Okay, it's gone down the tubes. They compare Bad Bunny to Héctor Lavoe. Two Puerto Ricans that couldn't be further from each other.
Apart from each other, yeah.
I mean, a musical genius versus an auto-tuned fool. Take that wherever you want to take it. He is talentless. Absolutely talentless.
So he uses all the electronics and everything.
Yes.
With his voice.
And everybody just feeds this guy. And this guy's honestly pushed on to the youth. And the youth says, oh yeah, he's phenomenal. What is it about his lyrics that's phenomenal to you? What is it? Because I don't get it. Oh no, he represents Puerto Rico. No, he doesn't. No, he doesn't. Because if that's your representation of what he wants to sexually do to somebody, to me, that's pathetic. And your representation of your country is definitely skewed.
So everything has to be revisited if we want to get this world back to normal.
Priorities. People's priorities are fucked up. Yes, I said it. I said the F word. Okay? It doesn't, to me, I mean, I see it every day in the ER. But priorities are not what they should be. It's reflective in our art, in our music, and it translates into our lives. Okay? What you listen to, what you consume is what you become.
It's very sad. It's very sad.
Well, I mean, we need to fix our houses. We have to put our houses in order if we...
one by one.
If we want to make the world a better place, start with yourself.
Very important.
And I take that advice for myself. Every single day, I need to find a way to better myself. One way or another. Okay? If we all thought like that, maybe there'd be a change. And yeah, sometimes you fall. Sometimes you fail. Sometimes you let yourself down and you don't reach where you want to go. Okay? But hey, there's always tomorrow. Put your houses in order. And if you want something done right, do it yourself. Okay, do it yourself, and don't sit here and yet again blame the government for something when you yourself could take that power and say, I'm going to report it too. Okay, I'm not going to put all my trust in you. No, I'll put some trust in you, but I'm also going to take that and run with it, and I'm going to see what's going on here. I'm going to report, I'm going to document, I'm going to have my own database. And it's going to be accurate because I know it's going to be accurate. And have good people running your shit. Not people who are in bed with the FBI, right? That really don't have the best interest. And they found uranium on this territory. That's why they wanted the land. Because if you sold 1/8 of the land, why? It's because they found uranium deposits. Right? So... trust but verify. At the end of the day, trust but verify. and be independent. And honestly, for all the women that have lost their lives, all the women, all the girls that have lost their lives, we keep you in our prayers. We keep your family in our prayers. It's very sad. I could only imagine the pain. I could only imagine the pain of what even Emily Pike's mom had to endure identifying her daughter. They put her body in bags and threw her in the middle of the woods. I could only imagine how hard that was. And so we keep all of them in our thoughts, and we pray for a change, and we hope that people make an active change in all of this and dig deep.
Mothers have to assume that responsibility. It's a difficult job, but we are the nurturers, and we have to be able to see and look at our children and read them. That's very important. And when we have to be disciplinaries, we have to be disciplinaries. I am not saying to abuse the child, but teach the child. Teach the child and teach them what's right and what's wrong. Very important, so that you don't cry later. And make them aware that sometimes things that they do could be very dangerous and the outcome could be very negative.
The last thing, I was looking for that quote in this article, and again, we've expressed it. We've beat this dead horse a million times with what we had to say about the database. But the good thing is that the ¿cómo se llama? The coalition to stop violence against Native women, the organization, has begun discussing creating a database of its own, one built with information that the organization has collected over the years, including documents and reports that the Department of Justice previously issued. This method of ensuring that vital documents and resources are stored somewhere other than on government agency websites is something that some advocates have been pushing for since the website purges began. Again, should have been done a hell of a lot years prior, but any change, positive change is good change. So we stay tuned. If anybody has information on this, once this takes off, please reach out to us. We would love to. I'm going to keep my eyes peeled to see what discoveries have been made, what information is there, so that we can revisit this. Should there be any other information. We hope that this caused some sort of positive change, brought awareness to what's going on, and we hope that this stops, that these numbers stop, that no more women have to go through this situation, that we hold ourselves to a higher standard as people, and
Very important. So,
with that, we conclude.
have a blessed day.
Thank you for watching.